Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So we've got another guard to be installing here on my 2019 KTM 300XC. Today we're going to be installing the Enduro Engineering Clutch Slave Cylinder Guard, which is, you have a hydraulic clutch on this bike, and this is the hydraulic slave cylinder that is actuating when you pull the clutch in. So you've got your chain right here, you've got your chain guide right here, your foot is right here shifting. There is potential that you could take a rock or something if you dump the bike over and you could puncture this, and if you lose your clutch you're not going to be able to shift, and you're probably going to lose your gear case fluid, or at least your clutch fluid. So this was a cheap option to go ahead and, it's cheap insurance. It was $39.95. I got it from Slavens Racing. It comes with an upper chain guide, comes with a deflector, and it comes with the actual plate that goes over the top, comes with all new hardware, and the directions you can get off of Enduro Engineering's website. So what I did was I went ahead and printed those out here. It's literally like 5 steps. If you want to pause the screen and take a look at that, those are the directions for installing this guard. So we're going to go ahead and get started installing it. Alright guys, so the first step here to installing the clutch slave guard from Enduro Engineering is to go ahead and remove your airbox cover. You literally just pop it off just like that, set it aside. This is actually a T40, so I'm going to go ahead and use my T40 with my ratchet. Go ahead and undo this, and it's not really torqued in there too tight, so once you break it loose you can just unscrew it, and there is an upper chain guide on the back that you could put your right hand on to hold it in. So now that you've removed that bolt, set that aside because you get longer bolts with this kit. Alright, so the next step in installing your Enduro Engineering slave guard is you're going to go ahead and remove the 3 bolts on the clutch slave cylinder here, including the one that goes through the OEM chain guide. So there's one here, and one behind the chain guide, and you're going to use a T30 Torx or an 8 or 10 millimeter socket. So me, because I have Torx, I'm going to go ahead and use that. Break it loose. I'm going to go ahead and remove this upper chain guide because you won't be reusing it. I'm going to set it aside. Now when you remove this front bolt, there is a washer here. You will probably reuse that, I'm not sure, but I'm going to set this aside just the way I found it. Okay, so once you remove those 3 bolts and that top chain slider, you're going to go ahead and open your package and remove the hardware. Okay, now that I've removed all my hardware from the package, according to step 4, I'm going to be using the M8 by 50 mil head hex bolt and lock nut, and I'm going to use that as well as the spacer, the knockdown bar, and the chain slider to connect everything together, but not to tighten it this time. Okay, once you get this put together, you can see I've got my M8 by 50, which has a smooth shank on it. I've got my slider, I've got the bend on the deflector towards the slider, I've got the aluminum spacer, and I've got the nut all put together loose like the picture shows in figure 4. Alright, so after opening the package, they actually have better instructions in here, which you can see. We've got better pictures. So I've got a tip for you. You're not going to remove, you're going to lower the kickstand, and when you go to put the hex head 50 bolt in, what you're going to do is you're going to slide it in from the outside, and with your chain slider on the inside, you're going to slide this bolt through, and then you're going to put your spacer onto the bolt, and then you're going to put your deflector onto the bolt with the bend going towards the inside and the 017 part number towards the inside. Alright, so now when you go to put the bolt in, this plastic will be in your way, and in order not to damage the plastic, I'm going to use a T45 Torx to remove this bolt that's in the way. Now you can slide your spacer and your bracket towards the outside of the bike, and you're going to position your chain guard or your upper chain slider like this, and slide it on facing the rear of the bike. And then you're going to put your nut on the back of that. Okay, now once you've got your bracket on here, you're going to go ahead and take your Enduro Engineering clutch guard and you're going to go ahead and slide it over both the bracket and the 3 holes where you removed the 40mm bolts before. And then you're going to go ahead and insert the 3 provided bolts into the holes and go ahead and just get them started loosely. It doesn't say it in the directions, but I think it's always good practice on an engine bolt like this to go ahead and use Loctite, so I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on here. On each bolt. Alright, now that you've got all 3 of these bolts hand tightened, you're going to go ahead and torque them down evenly to ensure even pressure on the guard as well as the clutch cylinder. Now there may be a torque spec for these 3 bolts, but I'm just going to go ahead and snug them down evenly, and I'm not going to over torque them because this is an aluminum magnesium case and you could strip the holes pretty easily. Now that you've got these 3 bolts in, you're going to go ahead and tighten up your 10mm 50mm bolt here on the back using a hex head 10mm socket. In order to get your 8mm bolt, your 50mm hex head bolt properly torqued here on the back, you're going to use a 12mm box end wrench on the inside nut, and you're going to go ahead and use a 10mm socket here on the outside of the bolt. Now that you've got the rear bolt tightened down, you can go ahead and retighten your T45 bolt here holding the plastic on underneath the airbox. Now that I've got this snug down, I can go ahead and reinsert my airbox cover. Alright guys, there you have it. We've got the new Enduro Engineering deflector and clutch slave cylinder guard installed. It probably took about 15 minutes. I think it looks really good. It's a nice billet aluminum piece that's been milled out of a solid block of aluminum, along with this nice deflector guard here that's also aluminum. It's very light, it looks good, it serves a purpose, and it's going to keep you out of a difficult situation if you were to drop your bike on a rock that would puncture that. So I think for less than 40 bucks, it's well worth the money. It actually frees up your chain and the ability to get your front sprocket off if you have to do that. You don't have to remove the rear slider now. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.